好，搞掂啦。咁啊，睇翻個 OS 先啦。咁啱啱咧就 update 完部電視啦。睇翻個 Surface 先啊。咁今次嘅TV 嘅i software 咧，而家係7.6 tvOS 7.6.1呢部Apple TV HD 咁啊，行緊呢度啦。咁而家就睇收條片，睇下會應該有啲修正嘅。希望今次 OK 啦，唔好唔屈。
Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 14.2 to the public. That means that it's out for everyone around the world at the same time on all iOS 14 supported devices. That means if you have an iPhone 6S, 6S Plus, all the way up to the iPhone 12 series phones, you'll have this update. And if you're not seeing it, all you need to do is go to your settings, then go down to General, go to Software Update, and under Software Update, it should show you an update. If you're not seeing that update, go into your automatic updates or automatic downloads, turn them off, go back and check for an update, and it should be there. Now, this particular update was fairly large and should be a very large size for most people. It came in at 4.34 gigabytes on my iPhone 12, as you can see here, and this particular update has a ton of new features and bug fixes and things, and should be very good for most people. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's new. Now, if you're already on iOS 14.2 RC or release candidate, which is the same thing as the GM, Apple must have found a bug because they've updated this for you as well. So you'll also have an update under Software Update. If you're not seeing it and you're a developer or beta tester, delete the profile and then check for the update again, and you'll have an update to go to the next version of 14.2, which is the same version everyone else in the public gets if you're not already on that version. Now, as far as this particular update, well, along with iOS 14.2, Apple also released iPadOS 14.2, along with watchOS 7.1, and HomePodOS 14.2, and also release candidate 11.0.1. So a lot of updates today. Now this update
嗱，今次呢個 update 就集中係 iOS 14.2咁啊，嗱我就 skip 咗個 iOS 啦，咁啊呢個就係一部12 iPhone 11啦。
Device like an iPhone 10.
呢部係 iPhone 12。
The build number is 18B92. And this update has a lot of different changes and features. And the first one is if you're coming from iOS 14.1, you'll have a modem update. So you'll have a modem update, hopefully to help with connectivity, whether that be on an older device like an iPhone 10R or an iPhone 11, 11 Pro Max. Even though they're not that old, you'll still have a modem update, or at least that's what I was. Now let's take a look at what's new. Now the first new update has to do with Shazam, or being able to capture audio and then have it tell you what it is. Now you could do this with Siri before, you could do this with shortcuts as well, but now if we go into Control Center, we now have a new icon. We press on this icon, it will listen for music and tell us what it is. If it doesn't hear anything within a set amount of time, it turns off. So let me go ahead and play some music from this phone, and I'll show you how it works. Of course, I'll have to mute it. So I'll hit the button here. It says it's listening. And so you can see it says the song here, Where We Go. So it picked it up, it let me know what it was with notifications, and that's it. So that's pretty simple. There's also some additional updates to music as well in the Control Center. So whatever you were last playing will show up, of course, but if you press and hold on it, you now have a little bit of a new interface. It looks a little bit different, gives suggestions of other songs you might like, and if you're in music, and maybe you're not playing anything at all, we close it out, and then we go back in, press and hold, it will give us suggestions of things we might like as well. So not only will it tell us what we're playing, but it will give suggestions. Also, if we press on AirDrop, we have a slightly different interface. If you have a HomePod, you'll have a new interface down here as well. But if you're connected to one, it'll look slightly different. But this is the new interface overall for music. The same is true on the lock screen with music. So if I go ahead and hit play, we'll turn the volume down. We'll go ahead and go to the lock screen. You'll see it's here, and it's a little bit of a different interface. They've changed it around a little bit, just slight tweaks to music, but that's all new. Now also, if we go into the Home app, they've made some changes as well. There's a new Discover button. So if we press on Discover, we can go through some of our different applications, see Discover, and we have a new icon for Home. So they've changed the icon a little bit. Nothing major, but that is a change. Now another change they've made has to do with AirPods, and this one I really like. So if you connect your AirPods Pro, let's go ahead and do that. I'll put one in my ear. Hopefully it will connect to the iPhone I'm using, and it did. And it has that automatic switching, but we have some new options now. If we go into settings, for example, and then we go to Bluetooth, press the I here, and we have some new options. So not only do we have transparency and everything, we have the option to change some of those settings. So we also have a new setting for optimized battery charging. So you can see it says, to reduce battery aging, iPhone and AirPods learn from your daily charging routine, so AirPods can wait to finish charging past 80% until you need to use them. This will extend how it actually lasts as far as your battery, and hopefully extends it significantly. There's also some updates to hearing as well. So if we go into our settings and then go to sound and haptics, we now have headphone safety. This is a little bit of a new menu, and what you have is headphone notifications if the music is too loud. You can actually set the decibel level here. You can reduce loud sounds, and you can see we can change it. So, and it tells you as loud as a motorcycle, as loud as an ambulance siren. So I have it notify me if it goes above 80 decibels, and then you can see this in the Health app as to what you're hearing and how loud it is. You could see some of that before, but now it works with AirPods and will give you that information. Now within this update, there's also updates to wallpapers. So if we go into settings, and then we go to our wallpaper, go to choose new wallpaper, go to stills, we have some new wallpapers. And so you can see we have 8 new wallpapers, starting with some that look like mountains from Big Sur. So you'll see we have perspective zoom on for either one of those, but those are some rocks. We go to the next one. We'll go to the third one. Again, more rock formations. Then the fourth one, another set of rock formations. And then we can go to the next one, which looks like the Pacific Coast Highway, but it's drawn out. So it's sort of a sketched out version or a cartoon overlay of it. Then the next one looks like it's sort of a river or lake in a valley, again drawn. And then the next one is a desert. And then the last one is sort of a lake or shorefront on sort of a drawn out mountainous shorefront area, so with some flowers and things. Now all of these have dark mode as well, so if I flip on dark mode, I won't show you all of them, but I'll show you a couple. If you use the new drawn out wallpapers, they have sort of a bluish purple color to them in dark mode. And I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of this particular color. I wish it would be a little bit more colorful at night, but I guess it would help reduce the overall brightness of the display. Again, if you go into one of the rock formations, you'll have sort of a starry sky there as the background instead of the sky, and then it's a little bit darker. So they're all really nice. I think they're great updates, and they're included with iOS 14.2. Now, within iOS 14.2, there are over 100 new emoji, and those include emoji for different animals, food, faces, household objects, musical instruments, gender-inclusive emoji, and more. So if I scroll through, you'll see there's a plunger, there's a screwdriver, a hook.
好啦，好多個emoji 啊，話俾你聽，係啦，就係咁多。我 skip 咗先啦，咁啊。一陣間咧 update 完之後咧，就睇睇個 battery life 啦，順便睇下個build number 啦，咁跟住睇下啲 update 咧，就係 for 個iPad 啦，影相嗰方面啦。
So
咁啊，同埋有啲新嘅 wallpaper 想介紹下嘅。咁首先咧就update 完部機再同大家講下點啦。
If the music is too loud, you can change it. So, and it tells you as loud as a motorcycle, as loud as an ambulance.
係啦，咁啊有少少唔 work 啊，要啲時間搞㗎。同時兩部機一同時進行啦。下邊嗰個就係部Apple 嘅我部 iPad 啦。而家咧就掹埋部掹 screen 就好啲嘅，可以知道啦，我上面嗰度得啦，update 咗啦。 咁啊 OK 得啦，唔開份。呢個係遊戲我唔用嘅，咁我哋今日睇佢開機得啦。
Cotex 安心熟睡褲，超唔敢節漏接觸，零死咁風流。Cotex。
Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zola。
咁啊，係啦，就入翻嚟啦。咁我哋入翻嚟啦。咁我哋先打開咗我哋開設定先。我嘅 Apple 就開翻機啦。咁首先去咗軟件更新嗰度先。咁軟件更新嗰度咧就而家係 iOS 14.2啦。睇翻個 build number。咁我部 iPad 咧就係係啦。咁見到個 build number 嘛？想 focus 少少嚇。就係 18B92，咁今次個 build number 係咁啦。好，咁啊，跟住咧，我哋繼續睇翻啦，就係咁跟住到另一啲嘢啦。咁睇 battery life 個電池百分比啊。咁而家咧，咁呢幾日嘅電池百分比都幾高電量。咁啊，暫時係咁少啫。好，跟住咧就有關於個就係個主畫面啊，就係個主畫面啦，個 dock 嗰個問題啦。咁啊，嗰個主畫面咧有啲 update 嘅，係啦。咁首先咧就係有啲新嘅畫面啦。好，set 翻個背景上先，係啦，你呢度就呢度啦，係啦，係啦，見到有啲新嘅相啦，有石仔，有啲接福山啊，啲石仔都幾好啊。仲有呢條路啊。已經海旁出嚟啦，河啦，呢個沙漠啊，呢個沙漠景嚟嘅，夜晚景，仲有呢個喺海岸影出嚟嘅，有啲係啦，咁啊就係咁啦，呢度啲點點啦，呢度就冇乜改變嘅，我即係呢個我都唔會揀住啦。咁我哋咁啊用翻頭先個景啦，咁跟住咧就係個 home 嘅 home app 啦，update 嘅自動化啦，探索啦，暫時冇乜 update。咁跟住咧就係個 AirPod 啦，咁一年嘅時候咧你。咁我第時咧，我入翻 Apple 之後，同大家做嗰個實驗啦。咁啊，就係戴喺個耳機度啦，咁啊要有翻部機先得。咁啊，而家咧就試下咧喺嗰度咧去做其他嘢，即係可能咧係咁刪嗰度個 headphone system 咧就 skip 咗先。我跟住個 iPadOS 啦，咁啲相我就計佢啫。skip 一陣先。好多個 emoji 啊，新嘅。
And the magnifier.
Magnifier 啦。
Go in here, go to settings, and we now. It's the latest. Now, if you have an iPhone 12 Pro with the LiDAR sensor,
有呢個 LiDAR sensor 咧，
iPad Pro
或
with
者
the LiDAR
iPad
sensor
Pro 嘅 LiDAR sensor 咧。
So as long as you have a device with a LiDAR sensor
嘅話咧，
magnifier app or
有個 magnifier
app, it's not terribly new, and you have a new feature. It can detect people nearby. So if I triple click, that's a quick way for me to get into magnifier. We go in here, go to settings, and we now have an option for people detection. And what this will do is see a person and then actually measure the distance to that person. So you hold it up and it gives you the distance to that person. It's a really nice option.
一定要係 iPad Pro 啦，或者全新嘅 iPhone 12嗰個 LiDAR display 先至 LiDAR 嗰個 system 先就得嘅。提翻大家。
Recognize more things in the future, such as objects.
全新嘅 iPhone 12啦，或者 iPad Pro.
Only measures people, and it will recognize them if they're in a scene. 14. Now there's a MagSafe accessory we haven't seen yet for the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro series phones, and that is a new leather sleeve. Apple announced it, but they never released it, and this adds support for it. So let me show you what that looks like. And as you can see, this is what the leather sleeve looks like. It sort of has an always-on display with the time displaying through it. I'm not sure that I like this very much. It'll be interesting to maybe see one in person and try it out, but this particular update adds support for that sleeve. So when the sleeve is available in the store, you'll be able to use it. So, of course, that's a good thing. Now, also, this update adds support for intercom use. So maybe you have a HomePod at home, or the new HomePod Mini, you'll have the ability to use your phone or your HomePod as an intercom by talking to Siri to do it. So it supports not only HomePod and HomePod Mini, but iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, AirPods, and CarPlay. You can use them and send an intercom message to them. Now, I don't have a HomePod here in this particular area, but if you go to home and you do have a HomePod in your home, you can press and hold and use the intercom setting. Now, something that's really nice is if you have an Apple TV, which I'm surprised this was mentioned in an iOS update, but if you have an Apple TV 4K, you can use HomePod for stereo, surround sound, and Dolby Atmos audio. So you have the ability to connect HomePod to that device to use it for stereo sound.
stereo 啦，4K 同杜比嗰個全景式都得㗎，喺個 Apple TV 一定係 4K 啊，提翻佢。
Use them as surround sound. That would be nice, but that's a feature that they've added. Now, there's also an update for exposure notification.
Exposure notification. 我 download 咗啲問題啦。呢個expanded notification 啦 ，exposure 嘅。我唔 skip 佢先咁啊，刪咗佢啊。係啦，咁啊
image recognition. Now, the odd thing is, some of them are specific to new iPads. For example, the new iPad Air has features to do with the camera. So, within the camera, iPad Air 4th generation, or the 2020 iPad Air, now has scene detection, and it uses intelligent image recognition to identify objects within that scene and make the photo better. So maybe it recognizes my iPhone here, my iPad Pro over here, maybe this iPhone here, and it will help take better photos because it knows what it is and it exposes properly for it. So that's something they've added. Whether or not that's in the iPad Pro or other iPads is hard to say, but they've added it to the iPad Air specifically for this. Like I said, the iPad Pro also gets the option for using the LiDAR sensor with this iPad Pro, which is really nice. So you'll be able to use that iPad Pro to identify people, like I said earlier. And then also, again, with the iPad Air, there's auto frames per second in the camera. So we'll go into the camera again. If we go to video, there's now auto FPS based on the overall brightness in the frame. So if you're in low light, for example, it will optimize the frame rate to bring up the quality of the video. So maybe you're in very dark conditions, the frame rate could change. So I'll turn the lights off here, and maybe we'll point it at a darker area. And turn that back off, and you'll see I recorded some video, and it may have dropped the frame rate to help with the video overall. So hopefully it improves it. Of course, I don't take much video with this iPad Air, but it should improve it if you have one of those. It's only specific to this device, though. And so those are the updates to the iPhone and the iPad Air, but there are a ton of bug fixes as well. So let's go over those. Now, the first major bug fix has to do with the dock. For some people, the dock apps could be out of order all of a sudden, and this should be resolved now.
Resolve 咗啦，其實已經解決咗呢個問題啦，所以應該係啦個 dock 啦。咁影相嗰方面啊，咁唔會一打開 cam 唔會黑㗎啦。咁你應該下次試下用機嘅時候就你要留意下，唔會黑嘅啊。咁而家 skip 咗先啦。咁先生機咧可以直接入去啦。咁跟住翻去啦，個提示事項啊，有嗰啲expire date 咁樣啦。係啦，就跟住天氣方面啦，只係 iPhone 嘅啫。fix 咗啲問題，fix 咗啲唔同嘢啦。
So hopefully there's a bunch of issues.
咁好多 issue 啦，咁嚟緊。
That specifically 啦 ，those app, and maybe you receive the phone call. the phone call would stop the voice recording. Now that won't happen anymore. You can swipe the phone call away. It won't interrupt your voice recording at all. So they fixed that issue. They also fixed the issue if you use Netflix and the screen was just completely blank. That should be resolved as well, which is kind of odd, specific to Netflix. And then also, if you're using Apple Cash, it may fail to send when using Siri. This has been a long time issue. They've now resolved it. Now also, if you're using the Apple Watch app, for some people it would just unexpectedly close, so now that's been resolved. And then also, when you're using your watch, maybe you're doing a workout and you're running or just taking a walk, the GPS routes or health data were not syncing properly with the phone. That has now been fixed. So that's something that my wife had and my family had. That's been fixed in this update, which is great. Now, if you use Apple CarPlay, audio could have incorrectly been labeled as not playing, even though audio was playing. So they've fixed that issue if you were having that with audio on CarPlay. And then also, if you were having an issue with your device wireless charging, well, that's now resolved on all iPhones. So that doesn't have to do with just MagSafe or anything like that. Some people were having their phone wirelessly charged to 90% and stopping, or 70%. All of those issues should now be resolved. Now, another thing they fixed is maybe you're going from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 12, or maybe an iPhone 7 to an iPhone 12. Anytime you would go from the old one to the new one, if you were using exposure notifications, sometimes it was not transferring over properly if you had it enabled before. Now it will transfer all of the settings properly. So all of that has been fixed, and it will be turned on if you had it turned on before. If not, it will be on. So those settings have been resolved. That's it for all of the fixes they've mentioned and all of the new features, but they also updated security, but they haven't specified what those security updates are. So it's hard to say exactly what those are, but they have resolved those. Now, as far as using this, well, I've been using this update for a few days now, and it's been pretty fast on all of the... going to be fast on a newer iPhone 12, but last year's iPhone 11, 11 Pro, they're going to have similar results. Everything seems to be really smooth, and from those I've heard that have been using it for a while, they've really had no complaints. They've said that it's been stable.
停咗添啊，唔緊要。咁啊 ，that's it for 啦。咁今次嘅 iOS 14.2就去到呢度。大家睇完頻道咧，就去呢度記得撳翻 like、subscribe，記得撳翻鐘仔留意住最新嘅片段啦。SOS 我係介紹，多謝大家收睇，我係 Aaron，下集見。